Всем привет, дамы и господа, с вами Алекс Назаренко. Топ-20 групп, которых испортил новый вокалист.
Welcome to WatchMojo. And today, we're counting down our picks for the top 18 bands who fell on tough times when they attempted to replace an iconic lead singer.
Ебать, у NXS сменился солист.
Number 18.
Да, светлая память тому челик. Вообще, всех, кого нет, ставит это видео светлая память, того чувака же не стало.
In many ways, the voice and overall presence of Tom Meehan were a huge reason why Kasabian were able to maintain success through the 2000s and 2010s.
Технически. Сейчас, секунду. Перезагрузить надо просто. Классная бутылка.
Huge reason why Kasabian were able to maintain success through the 2000s and 2000s.
Подождите, топ-20? Почему там 18 было? Что ты слышал про это?
However, when he abruptly was dismissed in 2020 due to a domestic violence charge, guitarist Sergio Pizzorno stepped up and became the new frontman. Despite earning some decent critical acclaim, this latest iteration of the band has failed to hit the commercial heights of their early career. While Pizzorno certainly brings his own style and presence to the table, for many fans, Kasabian are so deeply linked with Tom Meehan that it just won't ever stack up. Number 17, Boston.
Dynamics.
The vocal talents of Boston frontman Brad Delp helped single them out as one of the most successful rock bands of the 70s. Delp brought power, control, and undeniable personality to his role, resulting in a sound that was entirely their own. When he tragically passed away in 2007, the band turned to a fan, Tommy DeCarlo, who had recorded several covers of Boston classics. While it was in Tommy DeCarlo, who had recorded passed away in 2000.
Покойник, ебать, стал
the band turned to a
Это какой-то сюжет для фильма, нахуй.
Fan, Tommy DeCarlo, who had recorded several covers of Boston classics. While it was indeed a good fit on paper, his impression of Delp simply didn't have the emotional punch that the original did.
Сейчас, секундочку.
Hope is to carry on, you know, what Brad meant. Quite honestly, I've never dreamed this big.
Although he served dutifully as the band's vocalist until his death in 2026, he was always fighting an uphill battle. Number 16, Sepultura. For many fans, Max Cavalera's time at the helm of Sepultura will never be topped, and it's not hard to see why. The band enjoyed great critical and commercial success in the late 80s and 90s, right up until Cavalera left the group in 1996. In response, they hired American singer Derek Green, a singer who brought new flavors and styles to the table. Live performances showcased classic songs, performed in a different manner, leading many of the band's most loyal supporters to bow out. Green played a big part in stabilizing Sepultura during a rough patch, but to say he had big shoes to fill would be an understatement. Number 15. Journey.
Я знаю, что у них только один вокалист был.
Having a vocal powerhouse like Steve Perry is the type of ace up the sleeve that most bands would kill for. That made his eventual departure still.
Он и сейчас выступает. Да, Джорди живы.
All the more. His replacement, Steve Augeri, had a voice that closely resembled Perry's, which initially reassured fans. However, the similarity became a double-edged sword, which made the band's supporters constantly compare eras.
Ну, конечно,
with Augeri
блядь.
generally coming out second best.
Ну, им нравится.
In the end, vocal problems caused him to leave. Mimicry was only good enough to get Augeri so far, but there was a limit to how much she could do with Journey. Number 14. Creedence Clearwater Revival.
Ой, я про этот фестиваль знаю.
Much as
Это
Creedence
испанский.
Clearwater Revival enjoyed a hugely successful period in the late 60s, tensions between the band ultimately led to their demise. Singer John Fogerty was not overly enthused about giving his bandmates more creative control, but relented for their final album, Mardi Gras. With other members now contributing songs and even lead vocals, it became clear why Fogerty was the one calling the shots. The album was a dud, and the group didn't survive much longer. Even when ex-members began a spin-off called Creedence Clearwater Revisited, their attempts to channel the band's prime ended up falling flat.
Жаль.
Number 13. Black Sabbath. The success of the Heaven and Hell
Что-то я думал про это. За то, что Оззи будет, но Оззи ж первый солист.
era of Black Sabbath and the interesting additions made by Ronnie James Dio stood as proof that sometimes change is good. However, the next singer to try and fill the void left by Ozzy Osbourne was the legendary Ian Gillan, previously of Deep Purple. The Gillan-led era of Sabbath only lasted for a year and is almost unanimously regarded as an experiment that didn't really suit either party. Gillan is obviously one of rock's greatest vocalists, but on the album Born Again, it simply wasn't working.
Это вам не Оззи. Это вам не австралиец.
From there, Tony Martin's stint as lead singer has been critically reevaluated. But at the time, he didn't fare too much better. Replacing Ozzy was easier said than done. Number 12, Lynyrd Skynyrd. The tragic plane crash that befell Lynyrd Skynyrd at the peak of their powers robbed them of lead singer Ronnie Van Zant, guitarist Steve Gaines, and backing vocalist Cassie Gaines. This is the type of nightmare situation that could never fully be understood by anyone outside of the band's circle. Understandably, the group was put on ice for a decade before reforming with Ronnie's brother, Johnny Van Zant, on lead vocal. The decision to continue on led to several new albums and tours, but the magic had unfortunately left them, leading to them becoming something of a tribute band in the eyes of their fans.
Я что-то смотрел видео, там, короче, рассказывать про группы, которые сейчас выступают, но там, типа, некоторые... Так, как... Там ни одного оригинального солиста. Типа это уже называют трибьют группой. Don't stop, believer. На-на-на-на-на-на-на. Алиса, что стало с группой Journey?
Открываю.
Угу. Так. Финны, да. Угу. Понятно.
Number 11, Queensryche. Even among infamous band squabbles, Queensryche endured one of rock's messiest frontman transitions after a legal and personal split with singer Jeff Tate in 2012. There's a place I like to lie, a doorway that I run through. A heavily publicized backstage fight between members ended with Tate getting axed. The band moved on with Crimson Glory frontman Todd La Torre, enjoying some decent success in the years that followed. However, for some fans, whatever connection they felt to the group vanished as soon as Tate left the building. Under La Torre, they were simply a different band, quite far removed from what they had once been.
This time, he's got company. Introducing the new slots. Dropping the freshest hits every week.
Number 10, Sublime with Rome. Technically, Rome Ramirez didn't replace the late Bradley Nowell as the Rome. Technically, Rome Ramirez didn't replace the late...
После реклам всегда такая хуйня должна быть, что нужно ставить все заново. Поехали.
Bradley Nowell as the lead singer of Sublime.
Tell me, are you a bad fish? Are you a bad fish?
Охуенно.
But Sublime with Rome is essentially the same band with a new name for legal purposes and a frontman who can't live up to his departed predecessor.
Take it or leave it, 'cause I'm really leaving. I've made up my mind this time, there's no coming back for you.
Ramirez, a fan of the band since childhood, is good if you're grading
Ah.
on a tribute band curve, but he absolutely cannot live up to the presence of Nowell, and the albums released under the Sublime with Rome banner have been lackluster at best.
Як вот это слышно.
This is less his fault and more a matter of him being given the impossible task of filling in for someone who was arguably irreplaceable. Number 9, Skid Row. Though Sebastian Bach wasn't the original lead singer of hair metal band Skid Row, his pipes were the group's most distinctive feature. Unfortunately, Bach's conflicts with his fellow bandmates got him booted from the band in 1996. A few years later, a new Skid Row was born with Johnny Salinger.
I feel the things I said, but never said loud.
But the group's sound was way out of fashion by then, and Salinger's lack of range compared to Bach was painfully clear. Salinger's tenure in the band was actually significantly longer than Bach's, but he never felt like anything beyond a mediocre replacement. Since the late Salinger's departure from Skid Row in 2015, the band has cycled through various other lead singers, none of whom have managed to recapture the Sebastian Bach magic.
Хуякс. Вот так, бах, и сейчас он группы.
Number 8, Dead Kennedys. One of the greatest frontmen in the history of punk rock, Jello Biafra's unmistakable voice and sharp political commentary and incredible stage presence made Dead Kennedys one of the defining hardcore bands. They called it quits in 1986 before reforming in 2001 without Biafra. There's not much of anything to say about Brandon Cruz, Jeff Penalty, or current vocalist Ron Skip Greer other than not Jello Biafra. Once again, this is a pretty blatant instance of a band cashing in on a name and losing their punk credibility in the process. Case in point, there have been no new Dead Kennedys records since the original run, and the band without Biafra has been likened to a glorified cover band. Number 7, Genesis. We're not talking about Phil Collins taking over from Peter Gabriel here. Don't worry. When Collins finally decided to part ways with Genesis in the mid-90s, instead of
группа, где пел Фил Коллинз, точно.
the group decided to hire Scottish singer Ray Wilson. The resulting album, Calling All Stations, simply failed to satisfy the band's fans. New Oral. Critical and commercial success was solid for a time, but when it faded, so did ticket sales. Eventually, this iteration of Genesis ended up fizzling out, with a statement that the band would no longer be recording music under the Genesis name. Iteration of Genesis ended up fizzling out, with a statement that the band would no longer be recording music under the Genesis name.
Это было правильным решением.
Number 6, Deep Purple. If you only know Smoke on the Water, you may be shocked to learn that Deep Purple has gone through 9 different formations since their late 60s origins, with drummer Ian Pace being the only constant.
On the water.
In fact, Smoke on the Water vocalist Ian Gillan isn't even the band's original singer. He is, however, its most enduring. Gillan's initial run with the
Первый, блин, ком. А второй, блядь.
known as the Mark II ended in 1975, but the lineup reunited in 1984 before Gillan's dismissal. He was replaced with former Rainbow frontman Joe Lynn Turner, who had collaborated with the guitarist Richie Blackmore and bassist Roger Glover as a member of Rainbow. But that was the problem. It sounded like a mediocre Rainbow album. Turner soon departed and Gillan once again returned. Number 5, Yes.
Yes.
When you think of Yes in the 1980s, you likely think of the band's shift from their prog rock origins to something with more commercial appeal.
Tell Monday what you need. We're creating an agent and naming him Tony. Now let's give him context. I'm giving Tony access to the relevant.
However, they started the decade without keyboardist Rick Wakeman or vocalist John Anderson. Instead, 1980s Yes had Trevor Horn of the Buggles at the mic, with his bandmate Jeff Downes on keyboards.
Look back, that is no escape.
That might seem like a potential.
Да ёб твою мать.
Keyboards.
Неплохо.
That is no escape.
That might seem like a potential recipe for disaster, but Drama, the horn-led Yes album, is legitimately good. But it wasn't the Yes that fans knew and loved.
Take heart. I could never let you go.
He was soon dismissed as the band's vocalist, and Anderson returned. Horn did, however, continue working with the group as a producer.
Заебись, не потерялся.
Number 4. Fleetwood Mac. Stevie Nicks and Lindsey Buckingham vocals are so essential to the mythos
Я знаю одну песню этой группы, знаю, что эта группа есть, и не знал, что там у вас смену вокалиста.
of Fleetwood Mac.
You can go your own way.
But would you believe the lineup hasn't always featured them? They both joined the
Не
band
поверю.
well into its initial run. After Buckingham left
Больше смотрим это видео.
in 1987, vocalist Billy Burnett and Rick Vito joined. Then after Nick's departure, Burnett stuck around and was joined by singer Becca Bramlett and Traffic's Dave Mason. The result was 1995's Time, an incredibly tepid album that failed to chart in the US.
Well, this heart of mine, I know it's so real.
What's more, there were personality clashes between the members, both previous and new. Nicks and Buckingham returned shortly thereafter, and this era of Fleetwood Mac soon became a historic footnote. Number 3. Iron Maiden. Bruce
Iron
Dickinson
Maiden.
wasn't the original vocalist for this legendary heavy metal band, but he's widely considered the best.
Я вообще про него только и слышал.
And replacing him was likely to be a thankless task. Wolfsbane singer Blaze Bayley replaced Dickinson in the mid to late 90s to not particularly good results. Many have since argued that Bailey is a good vocalist who wasn't suited for
Да?
Iron Maiden
Хорош.
and the songwriting styles of Steve Harris. 2 albums released with Bailey flopped both critically and commercially.
Пососали. Но это скорее не вина вокалиста.
With more categories on Vinted, you can sell the things that take up space. Don't use it, sell it.
Нихуя реклама, блядь. Хотя, блядь, раньше YouTube в качестве рекламы клипа крутил.
And Dickinson came back soon after, though he and the band still performed some Bailey-era songs live. Number 2, In Excess. Replacing a magnetic, charismatic, and undeniably attractive frontman like Michael Hutchins was always going to be nearly impossible. That said,
Это само поставить на паузу, блядь.
in the wake of his untimely death, In Excess went to some real lengths. After going through several replacements who would ultimately fail, the group held a reality TV show competition in order replacements who
Rockstar, CBS.
would ultimately fail. The group held a reality TV
Сейчас
show
самого убрать,
competition in
блядь,
order
не
to
знаю,
find
что
the
за хуй.
best replacement possible. The winner, J.D. Fortune, got the job but struggled to embody or build off Hutchinson's mystique and natural musicality.
Это не звучит как In Excess. Начнем с
He left the
этого,
group
блядь.
a few years later to be replaced by Irish singer Kieran Gribben, just 1 year later in 2012. The band decided to finally
Хватит
call
пучить,
it
хватит
quits.
пучить эту легендарную группу.
If you love games, be sure to check out WatchMojo.
Oh, you so would.
Click on the link in the...
Such a force of... The original frontman of Van Halen, David Lee Roth, was such a force of personality that the band could have collapsed in his absence.
Jump! charm.
However, Sammy Hagar ushered in another successful era for the band. But third time was not the charm when Hagar left and Extreme frontman Gary Cherone came in.
Cherone.
The band was already in a slump period, and this didn't help. While Cherone had proven his vocal chops before, on his one and only effort with the group, he sounded like a second-rate Hagar impersonator. He's not the only fault with the badly produced overlong Van Halen 3, but Cherone was unsurprisingly shown the door. Roth and Hagar returned to the band at various points. But what do you think was the
6-7! Ставьте лайки, подписывайтесь на канал, жить такого кульчика, чтобы не пропускать новые видео, пишите комментарии, ставьте в телегу и на бусти. Сам Алекс Назаренко, всем спасибо за просмотр, всем пока.